Good evening and welcome. This is the Marion City Council meeting for July 21st, 2016. The meeting will come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The roll call, please.
Ms. Pazor. Ms. Etzel. Mr. Spinks.
Present.
Mayor Abou-Osley.
Here.
Mr. Brandt.
Here.
Mr. Sternad.
Present.
Mr. Draper.
Here.
Okay, well, this time we'll have our moment of silence. Thank you. We begin with a proclamation tonight honoring the Granger House's 40-year anniversary. Is there someone here to accept the proclamation? Please come forward.
Oh, we just have flyers and things about our...
Okay.
One up there.
Welcome.
Thank you.
What are your names?
I am Anne Rogers.
And what's your role at the Granger House?
I am president.
Okay.
I'm Joe Stutler, Vice President.
Okay. Well, welcome. So whereas the Granger House was originally built in 1848 by George Granger, and whereas the Granger House was donated to Marion Historical Museum, Inc. by the Granger family, and whereas the Granger House is maintained as a middle-class Victorian-era home filled with unique treasures, and whereas the Granger House is the jewel in Marion's crown, and whereas the Granger House Cultural Center and Museum is celebrating their 40th anniversary of providing educational and entertainment opportunities for the community. Now, therefore, I, Nicholas Abou-Osley, Mayor of the City of Marion, Iowa, do hereby proclaim July 24th, 2016 as Granger House 40th Anniversary Day and encourage residents to recognize the positive impacts of this organization to the community and to express gratitude to those who have helped maintain and grow the organization.
Very much so. Thank you.
Does anyone want to take a photo, or anyone want to take a photo? All right, I'll just present you with that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if that will, I think this is yellow's good.
Okay. Well, my name is Anne Rogers. As you can probably hear, I'm not from these parts originally. Don't shoot me. I have the honour, actually, to be president of the Granger House, and it's a wonderful house. It really is fabulous. We are bringing back, and I'll pick up a big one so you can all see, we are bringing back our ice cream social after about 3 years of it kind of disappearing. So we're bringing it back to celebrate our 40th anniversary as a museum, and I would be delighted if some of you or all of you would like to come along and have some ice cream, and we are going to have a cakewalk and games for the children and Anything else are we doing?
Quite a bit.
Yeah, quite a bit actually. We've been working and working and working. So I do hope that if you would like to come along and, come and join us and for an afternoon of fun in the sun. And that's all I have to say, Joe.
All right, we're good.
Thank you, and congratulations
Thank
on the
you.
anniversary.
Thank you so much. And thank you for the proclamation.
At this time, we have citizen presentations and comments. Is there anyone? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Charles Knutson, and I live at 2835 24th Avenue, Marion, Iowa. My desire to have the election code changed has nothing to do with who has been elected in the past. It does have to do with the basic principle of what ward representation means to me. And I have no reason to believe that if ward representatives were elected by ward voters, that they would not have the best interests of the city as a whole as their basis of operation. Marion City Mayor received a letter dated June 6, 2016 from Marion City Legal Counsel regarding the procedures that could be taken to legally change the Marion City Charter Election Code 2.03 with regards to how ward council members are elected. Marion City Council had discussions at this past Tuesday's work session regarding this issue. Anyone who has not listened to that discussion should go online to the YouTube posting of that audio recording and listen to it. The discussion starts at 1 hour and 6 minutes. About 18 minutes of that audio recording is a background presentation from the city manager. Lon, you did a decent job with your presentation. Thank you. There is nothing on tonight's agenda regarding this topic other than to receive my latest letter dated July 15, 2016, that I mailed to the Marion City Council regarding this topic. Why? When will or does the council have any plans to respond to my questions now that you have the information from Marion Legal Counsel? If the council does not intend to exercise either option 1, to put the issue on the November ballot for a public vote, or option 2, for the council to vote to change the charter, then I ask, let us know now. Again, I want to point out that the letter from Marion's legal counsel was sent to the mayor on June 6th. That's 45 days ago, over 6 weeks, and the council is yet to share this information with the public. I would appreciate it, as I am sure other voters in Marion would, if each member of the council would go on record and state if they are or are not in favor of having only voters within the respective wards vote on the respective ward candidates. And regardless of either way you vote, explain why you take that position. From listening to the recording of last Tuesday's council work session, Joe, Will, Andy indicated that if the council were to vote on making the change, they would vote no at this time. Kim said she favored to let the public submit a petition, but did not state if she was for or against making that change. The other council members did not actually take any firm position. Please correct me if I am wrong. If the council is not willing to address this issue at this time, then the only path left is to gather signatures to get the issue placed on a ballot to make the change. If this is the path the council supports, it is regrettable that they did not have the courtesy to say such during the past 5 months, or at least 6 weeks ago. So I ask again, would each member of the council please go on record and state what your personal position is regarding the ward election code change? And what has or when will the council as a unit make a decision regarding this issue? And finally, when will the council be sharing the information providing in the June 6, 2016 by Marion's legal counsel with the public? Thank you.
Any questions or comments on that?
I think we did say sooner than later on Tuesday night that we need to do something, and from that point on, I don't know where it went.
Yeah.
It certainly could be brought up. It could be put on the agenda and brought up and voted upon, whether or not we want to change the charter as a council. And we take it to a yes or no vote, because we have citizens that may want to, like I said Tuesday, may want to do a petition asking the people to do it. So they are on a time frame of the end of August. So as quickly as we could do it so they know where we are, we'd be better off and get it over with, done and over. Get that behind our back.
Well, I've gone on record as saying that I don't think it's something that you do hastily and with a simple discussion. I think it's a matter that needs to be studied, needs to be looked at, and you have to get input from people. You don't change what's been done for 40 years with just a simple discussion and then you vote. You're changing what has been done for 40 years and a system that many people think has worked well for our city. Many people think it has some wisdom in it. I mean, not to discount the citizen request to have it looked at, but that doesn't require the city council to immediately act when a citizen requests that something gets looked at. If the council wants to go ahead and act on it, we can do that. But I mean, my opinion is that it's something that is studied. The charter, to change your charter of your city, is like changing your constitution. You know, it's not something that you just vote. I think it'd be short-sighted to just have a simple resolution and vote and then just decide to change it. That's basically my opinion. But I don't know if anybody else shares that opinion. But Lon, did you have any comments on any of what was said?
I thought that I stated during that meeting that my intention was to bring it back to council for a decision at the first series of meetings in August, knowing that there was a time sensitivity issue on the petition.
Okay.
Maybe I didn't. I thought I did, though.
Okay. Any other citizen comments? Yes, ma'am.
Judy Soluri at 1785 Grand Avenue. Okay, I have a feeling that this is one citizen with one opinion. Now, I happen to be a citizen also with a very different opinion. I agree with you, Mayor Nick, that this has gone very well for a very long number of years, and it does have to be gone over with a lot of thought. And I would hope that we would look at citizens who agree with both sides and not just listen to one person. I want to make sure that we listen to people who think things have gone well and listen to people who maybe want to change things. But I hope we don't just listen to one person. So I just want to make sure we listen to more than one person too. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Mike Tope, 170 26th Street Court, Marion, Iowa. I've listened to both sides of this, and I have some severe questions and answers I'd like answered. We as a nation, or we as a city, we do it this way, but yet Cedar Rapids does it a different way with ward and ward voting. We go to the county, and we do it another way with county and county ward voting. Then we go to the state with legislature, and then we go with Congress and congressmen going to Washington, D.C., and in the federal government. I don't see that this is rocket scientist. What we need here is proper representation in each ward. I don't want to point out anybody that's bounces around ward to ward to ward and then gets those wards to vote for them while they represent another ward. Because in the end, if we're not going to do this, then Ward 1, Ward 2, Ward 3, Ward 4 needs to be absolved, and we just need you and the two at large. We really don't need the other four. I mean, it's a simple statement. Let's get proper representation for our wards and let our wards speak for themselves. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Noreen Tonkin, 1920 8th Avenue. And I'm here in support of Charlie Knutson. I've been trying to get him to run for the council for many years because he's probably the most wisest person that I know. But in his support, this city has grown so much in just the last 5 years. And what has worked for the past 40 years really doesn't stand and hold true for now because we've just spread out so much. And I've heard people talk at different times where, they've encountered situations that they never, ever thought would ever happen. Nobody ever thought Thomas Park would flood. I mean, things changed. And depending on where you live, you have different situations to deal with, good and bad. And in order to have a person where your ward votes for that person to represent that person, it just helps represent that area. And we are a diverse city. We have an awful lot of different areas to take into consideration. And secondly, I'd like to ask, I would like to volunteer to help organize your website. I tried to download and get a list of telephone numbers to print out, and you can't print them out because there's everything prints out but the phone numbers or the names, and it's just really frustrating. So if anybody is involved in that and would like someone to help volunteer, won't charge a thing, just give them ideas, I would be more than happy to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Wanda Van D, and I live at 1025 Fairview Drive, Marion, so you probably know what Fairview is. I'm here with some frustrations, and I know it will be good when it's done, and we can live through the frustrations, but it's getting to be a little bit ridiculous. The letter that I got in December from the city said it was going to be 8 weeks, which, I knew that would not be. 8 weeks has come and gone because the letter came and said you were starting May 23rd. Okay, well, the letter we got from Rachi on the little door said they were starting Monday, May 19th, 2014, so we know that's not right. But, and we won't go into all those. I think I said something about that. But Fairview Drive is kind of a unique street, and some maybe don't know where it's at. Obviously, I found out somebody doesn't know where it's at, but we don't have any side streets. It's South 11th and Hannah Park. That's it, which is fine, and we're used to that. And it was really kind of a nice, quiet street. Well, they started, and that's fine, and it started working. Then I learned that they have 70 days to complete the project, and then after that 70 days, there's a penalty, which, whatever. Well, I've been kind of keeping track, and starting on May 23rd, we were gone a week, so I can't say whether anybody worked that week because I don't know. But with the rain that we've had, which came at night, that washed out the driveways and washed out the work that part of them have done, there's a few days, but it's like they're into half of the time. And, of course, I don't know anything about construction, but it doesn't look like they're about halfway done. And I just read a letter before that I came up as to things that were going to be done. They were putting the sidewalk in, which I've lived there 44 years, and we haven't had a sidewalk, which will be nice, whatever. But they were to put in 2x4s to put the base in for the sidewalks. There are no 2x4s anyplace. And there was another letter that came on the door last night that they were going to start tearing it up, which is, that's fine. Things have to be done, and I understand. In the beginning, when they put the storm drains in, it seemed like they were working pretty good and came up through there and tore out the driveway. I realize my driveway is unique to a lot of them that are on Fairview. It's very wide. We had an extra pad put in, and like a lot of them on the street, the two driveways are together. The houses sit on the driveways, and the driveways are together. So we have two driveways there. My neighbor and I they have their driveway, I have mine. But when they tore out the driveway and sawed it out and took it out and put the temporary in, which I thought, okay, that'll be, a couple weeks. And I thought when I come back from vacation, I won't be able to get on the street because they'll have the street completely tore out and won't be parking someplace else. When they took that out and put the storm drain through there, if I didn't get along with my neighbor, they would really have a problem because their driveway is completely blocked. It's completely over there. They can't get in at all. So they have to come up through mine and then swing over into theirs. And I realize my driveway is fairly wide. It's like almost 27 feet across. So we've got the pad and everything. But it was like, I don't know, it's like 10 foot is what they put in there. So granted, my husband told me that I wasn't a very good backer. So backing out of my driveway all the way down and backing out between these two barricades, isn't real fun. But I've kind of figured a sneaky way to get out where I can drive out. And so it works, and I realize that there are inconveniences. But just with a lot of the frustration with things going on, and you see it, my husband died last year, and he's buried at Oak Shade. So a lot of times, instead of going out South 11th, which I'm only 4 houses from the corner, I go down and go through Hannah Park, around Hannah Park and into the cemetery and stop at the grave. And I do that quite often. I would probably at least 5 times a week, if not longer, if not more. But so I go through there, and one of these days I'm probably going to get stopped and said, you can't use this as a thoroughfare, but I am going down to the gravesite. So I kind of see what's going on and am aware of the things the changes in the street as to how the work they're doing. And a lot of times, there's no changes. It's the exact same thing. And now the barricades are getting so that people have hit them and they're falling over. And actually, the one at my neighbor's, the rock there with that one rain that we had overnight is washed out. And one of these times, the barricade's going to fall in because the water has washed the gravel all out into it. And all of the work that they've done along there, I'm not sure what that white stuff is. I guess that's the sidewalk that they're putting in. But that's washed out because it's washed down from the sidewalks. But I just wanted to state my frustrations. And I realize it'll be nice when it's done, but it's kind of dragging on a little bit too long to not see anything. In fact, one day I was sitting in my kitchen and there was a little bobcat out there and they were working, and it was the only thing on the street. Now, this little bobcat isn't going to do a lot of work. He was putting the sidewalk in, or what I guess is the sidewalk. But they sat there for 45 minutes and chatted, which is fine. And I thought, oh, they're figuring out what they want to do and where they're going to put it, because you do have to talk about that. But then about 5 till 6, all of a sudden they got in a real big hurry and zipped around and did a couple things and then zipped down to Hannah to quit for the evening, which, maybe they were talking. I can't say that, but maybe they were talking about something or how to push the stuff around, whatever. But I just wanted to voice my frustrations.
We appreciate your
with
comments.
Things that are going on.
And Dan, do you know are they on schedule with that, or?
I think they're probably a little behind schedule. However, they're not in danger of running over schedule at this time. Because the project has provided for full access to everybody throughout the project, it always takes longer than it should. However, on Monday, all the utilities are in, we've provided temporary sidewalks for everyone. We have all the storm sewer, water main, and sanitary work is all done. They have the additional work that was done in Hannah Park, the connection, that's all rocked, ready to be paved. On Monday, they'll start removing the the old pavement and start rocking and getting ready for pavement. However, because of the situation and the fact that we've identified the fact of the uniqueness of the situation, we have tried to provide access to everybody within the street, except for very short periods of time, which really slows the project down. Starting on Monday, they will start pulling portions of the pavement out and putting in drain tile and rocking in short sections to allow for very short interrupted periods when people will not be able to access their driveways. This is going to take a lot longer than it would if we just shut the street down and took everything out. But we've made that concession for the adjacent owners so that they will have very short periods of time not accessing their properties.
Okay. But as far as you're concerned, it's still going to be done on time as of now?
It appears that they'll still be on time, yes. We've had a lot of rain, so.
The rain has probably slowed things down.
Every time it rains, everything gets muddy, and we have a hard time getting started up again.
Yeah, it does. But the rains have been at night, and actually they worked at. There was rain during the middle of the day, and they quit for a little while. That's when they were putting the storm drains in, and they came back and finished it. You know, it rained during the day,
Yeah,
but the rains have been at night.
There's certain work they can do when it's muddy, but there's a lot of work they cannot when it's muddy. So.
Before I came up, I read too. It said that when they're doing the sidewalks, they're putting in 2x4s to put this stuff on. There are no 2x4s along there.
I'm not sure where that came from. The sidewalks are 2 inches thick and 4 foot wide. Maybe I'm not sure what that meant.
I think it was a letter from, because I just.
Now, we didn't preview or review the letter from Rachi that went out. We are admittedly understanding.
Oh, it wasn't right. Yeah, that was delightful. That was different. But I thought it said that on the sidewalk they were going to put 2x4s along it to put the stuff in so it didn't wash out.
I'm not aware of that. I might have missed it somewhere, but we would not have done that. That would have been pretty expensive.
Well, yeah, I thought I don't see any 2x4s.
But they cut in a. This is the first time we've put in temporary ADA compliant sidewalks. We've had some difficulty with it because of the rains, washing out and everything. But because of the neighborhood, we went in and spent several thousands of dollars to put in temporary sidewalks on both sides of the street so that people could access their homes by walking, and tried to make them ADA compliant. So we're trying to work with the owners to try to meet their needs and their requests, and that was one of them that came out of the neighborhood meeting, was the need to be able to walk to their residences when they can't drive.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me view.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the consent calendar.
Your Honor, I move motion to approve the consent calendar as presented, numbers 1 through 16, and resolution number 25435 and 25458 through 25462.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar as presented, including items 1 through 16, and resolutions numbers 25435, 25458 through 25462. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the consent calendar? Oh, I'm sorry.
I do have one thing. Number 12, having to do with bicycle pedestrian.
Yes.
That professor from Coe that was killed on, was it 965, was on a recumbent bike, which puts him lower than a normal bicycle. And I find that that the law that got changed, making it possible for a bicycle to take up a full lane of traffic, is probably the dumbest thing I've ever heard. If they want to put this, then there should be restrictions as to the streets that can be used by bicycles. because they've had fatalities like crazy this year so far. And it's going to continue because people are just not going to wait for bicycles to, they're slower, obviously. And I guess that maybe where the problem comes in is the fact that, A, they aren't using gas, so therefore there's no gas tax to be had by the citizens. They're not paying for, to get a license plate put on their bike. I mean, they're not contributing anything, and I don't know where the legislature came by this. Probably one person had a problem, and that's why it got passed, and I don't know. I'm just venting right now. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other comments? All those in favor of approving the consent calendar, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
Your Honor,
Motion is approved.
I make a motion to approve the consent calendar with the mayor's abstention. These include items 17, 18, and 19, and include Resolution 25463.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the second part of the consent calendar, including items 17 through 19, and resolution number 25463. Any discussion?
Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
I need to also abstain from 17B.
Okay. So, can you amend the motion to remove 17B?
And I amend the motion that I just made to include an abstention by
Just
council.
remove 17B.
Remove 17B.
Okay. Is there a second for that?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to amend the motion to remove 17B. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay, now the motion is to approve 17A, 18, and 19. Any discussion on that? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. And then we have my abstention on that. And then, now, can you make a motion for 17B,
Yeah,
please?
make a motion to approve item 17B with the abstention of the mayor and Councilman Draper.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar item 17B, the application for special event outdoor liquor license for Q Dogs Barbecue LLC. Discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes with the 2 abstentions.
Resolution number 25464, approving merchant credit card service agreement with Payment Service Network.
Second. It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25464, approving the merchant credit card service agreement with Payment Service Network. Discussion?
The finance department has assured me that this is a very secure system, and apparently we will be saving money by doing it with this system.
Okay. Other discussion? Comments?
Was as far as the fees on this, I think I saw Leanne. You said it's $1.50 addition. That, I guess, do we eat that $1.50, or is that passed along? Is that an addition onto the fee?
The question you're actually asking about is when I was talking about whether you wanted to allow e-checks through online payments, and that was you would save $1.50 per $100 transaction if we spent the money and people actually paid with the e-check rather than using a debit or credit card. And we had decided that I would do some more digging, and I plan on bringing that back to you when I have more information.
Okay, so this is not if they use it as a
Nope.
regular checking or a
Nope,
credit
this would
card.
just be the online agreement so that when we get our e-suite up, people will have the ability to pay miscellaneous bills online.
Yep.
And then replacing our current credit card machines with the PSN machines.
Okay, my mistake.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thanks for that clarification. Any other questions or comments? Discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 25464, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Your Honor, I have ordinance number 16-10, amending Chapter 105 of the Solid Waste Ordinance and establishing base monthly collection fees at $14.25 and reduced monthly fees at $11. Initial consideration. Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 16-10, amending Chapter 105 of the Solid Waste Ordinance and establishing base monthly collection fees at $14.25 and reduced monthly fees at $11. Any discussion?
Was this one going to address the change that we talked about for lower fees for
No.
assistance, financial assistance?
Yeah, what I talked to Lon and Todd with the water department, I think what we'll do, if the council's okay with it, move along with this, then I would like to bring back a couple options for discounted rates based on, economic hardship.
Yeah.
I did some research. Some cities have a few different programs, so at least give the council some consideration on which program might best suit us, as well as what the water department does.
Yeah,
And so I can bring it back as soon as the next meeting, but I think for now, just to get us through this fiscal year, this is what we're recommending.
And this is basically to cover what
This is to cover us, our collections, obviously, to go out and perform our collections, and then obviously the rate increase is due to the recycling market. That's basically what it is. So.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yep.
Thank you. Any additional discussion on this? All those in favor of ordinance number 16-10, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
No.
We have one no. Motion passes. Mr. Draper?
Yes, Your Honor. Motion to refer to TAC for review the posted restrictive and regulatory signs in the central business district.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to refer to TAC for the review of posted restrictions and regulatory signs in the central business district. Any discussion?
So basically what you're doing is cleaning up the number of signs per post, correct?
And looking at, right, and looking at whether some are not needed anymore or, whatever. Just doing a comprehensive review. And I think some of that work's been done already by
the branding committee actually went out. They wanted to do it quicker, sooner than later. But earlier this spring, they went out, took some pictures of what needed to be done. We already have a very good idea what needs to be done at public service. That's kind of an eyesore for us. This is something we want to do for a while. But again, what we have to do is review the regulations attached to each sign before we spend the money to replace these signs, because we really need to thin them out.
Some of them may be obsolete or something.
Some of them are probably very obsolete, and so we need to have new legislation and resolutions to get rid of them.
Well, even at 20 miles an hour, you cannot read 5 or 6 signs on a post.
Right,
To see
but previous councils have directed public service to install those.
Okay, so this is a good start to
look
look at it.
I said Tuesday, pardon me, Mayor, I said Tuesday, and I would say again that I would hope that you would consider positive signs. I want to see signs that said, yes, you can park here for 2 hours. Keep our downtown positive.
The branding committee and the chamber are willing to help out. I'm sure they can come up with something.
Thank you.
So.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Your Honor, I move to approve the second consideration of ordinance 16-08, amending section 69.06, subsection 13 of the Code of Ordinances, establishing parking regulations regarding the length of reservation spaces within the incorporated city limits of the city. Staff.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 16-08, amending the Code of Ordinances, establishing parking regulations regarding length of reservation spaces within the incorporated limits of the city. Discussion.
Have there been any complaints?
I've not received any.
Okay. From the legal standpoint,
You're talking about opposition to this ordinance,
opposition to this ordinance.
so it's clear. No one? Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of ordinance number 16-08, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
No.
We have one no. Motion passes.
Yes, Your Honor, this is motion directing staff to prepare a hold harmless associated with a request for use and improvement at 3501 29th Avenue. Ken and Karen Swally, 3500 28th Avenue.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to direct staff to prepare a hold harmless agreement associated with a request for use and improvements at 3501 29th Avenue. Discussion.
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
the Swalleys are here if they would like to speak or not. The other thing staff is recommending, legal is recommending that we do an encroachment agreement instead of the hold harmless. So we'd need to amend the motion.
So what you would be doing is listing what the exact dimensions of each lot was, so that should they sell theirs, that whoever buys it doesn't know that there's this extra amount of space, right?
Yeah, their abstract would not include it, so it wouldn't be a problem. Don Felty, speaking for Don, I guess, the encroachment agreement would allow us to do both the hold harmless and basically an easement in the same agreement. We would record it. Everybody would be able to have it. So.
Okay. And it actually is to protect them as well as the future purchaser of the land.
Yes.
Would you like to address the council? Welcome. Please state your name and address. Thanks.
Karen Swally, 3500 28th Avenue in Marion. At the last council meeting, I spoke to you about the impact of the house removal is having on our property with the vehicle lights, the roundabout noise, and the wind. During that meeting, there was a discussion of two different proposals we provided the city for consideration. Option one was to sell us a portion of the lot, and that we would install a privacy fence to help buffer our property. Option number two was to drop the agreement with the city for us to use a portion of the land, but we were asking the city to help us with purchasing the privacy fence. At the last meeting, the council and staff comments led us to believe option one, selling the property of the lot, would not be in the best interest of the city of Marion. We were disappointed, but do appreciate the council's consideration and comments. You also stated that you wanted additional time to evaluate option two, which is what you've done already, and we would still like to request some assistance with the expenses in installing a privacy fence to help buffer the property. Removing the houses impacted more than the homeowners. The surrounding neighbors are now questioning, what are we doing with those lots? We're just looking for a way to buffer the noise and the wind and the lights, and that we would like to ask the council for some assistance. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan?
Yes.
Can you answer? Well, let's start with the second question. What are we doing with those lots? So I know we've addressed this several times, but you may need to say it one more time.
Well, Mike could probably address that better, but I think Parks has seeded them and is maintaining them. They will be mowing them in the future, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, Dan's correct. The intent was that after the houses were removed, the lots would be leveled, and then the the Parks Department would come in, mow them on a weekly basis like we do our other parks, and they would just be open lots until the time that they needed to be used for other road improvement projects.
Okay. Did the city consider doing any of our own buffering in terms of plantings?
No, the intent, and working with the building department on that, was to leave the lots as clean and open as possible to lessen the impact of maintenance overall for our department.
Okay. In making the recommendation, I mean, what was the consideration in terms of not participating financially? I assume that was considered.
Staff really did not put together a recommendation as far as the financial assistance. We leave that up to council to participate.
So it just was left open. I see. Okay. Discussion? Here. Thank you. Unless you have something else to say.
No, thank
okay. Thank you. Discussion?
Well, I guess my problem with giving any kind of financial assistance as far as the privacy fence or any plantings is that they're being allowed to use this land free unless the city needs it for repurposing of some kind. So I don't think that it would be in the city's best interest to provide any financial assistance.
Other discussion?
I mean, they're getting it rent free, so it's not like there's money changing hands. So what you normally pay for rent, then I guess that would pay for your fence. Maybe.
Any other discussion?
This hold harmless does not include a fence payment, right?
No.
Thank you.
No, it's like an easement.
Right.
That allows them to use a certain portion.
Sure.
But maintain, clarifies that it's the city's property.
Lilac bushes can be moved.
Well, actually, this, unless it was needed, this could go on for years. So.
Has the hold harmless been drawn up already?
No, we're actually recommending an encroachment agreement. No, we would not do that. This action, the motion, directs staff to prepare it.
And then you'll bring it back to us to approve.
You would have to approve it after it's taken care of.
So
yes.
We need an amendment of this.
Yeah, we'd like you to amend the motion.
Motion to make it an encroachment agreement.
Yes, and any financial assistance, if that is your direction, would be included in that.
Okay. Is there any opinion on financial assistance? We know Mary Lou's opinion, but right. So, unless any other opinion on financial assistance? Or?
I don't believe that we should do anything. I mean, they're getting the land to use, so I wouldn't want to do any.
Okay.
I agree with Mary Lou.
Okay.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
Miracles do happen. Okay. Is there an amendment to make this an encroachment agreement at least?
I move to amend the motion by changing the word hold harmless to encroachment.
Agreement.
With no financial assistance on plantings or fence.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to amend the motion to replace the hold harmless with an encroachment agreement and to clarify that the city will not provide financial assistance. Discussion on the amendment. All those in favor of amending the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay, now we have the amended motion. Any further discussion on the amended motion? None? All those in favor of the motion to direct staff to prepare an encroachment agreement with associated with the request for use and improvement at 3501 29th Avenue, and clarifying that that there won't be any city financial assistance, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay, the motion passes as amended. Okay?
Your Honor, I move a motion to approve resolution number 25465, approving Bedford Heights First Edition Final Plat and Memorandum of Agreement for property located west of Alburnett Road and south of Echo Hill Road, a request from Dustin Kern.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25465, approving Bedford Heights First Edition Final Plat and Memorandum of Agreement. Discussion?
Is this the one south of Echo Hill Road, Tom?
Correct. South of Echo Hill, west of Alburnett.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
30 lots, just so you know.
Is that total of 30, or is there more?
There'll be another addition.
That's what I thought, okay.
Yep.
Any other discussion?
When they call it Bedford Falls, wouldn't that have been better for?
Okay, no discussion. All those in favor of resolution number 25465, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion passes. Mr. Brandt?
I move to approve resolution number 25466, approving Magid First Edition Final Plat and Memorandum of Agreement for property located north of Oakbrook Drive and west of East Post Road, the Views Properties LLC.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25466, approving Magid First Edition Final Plat and Memorandum of Agreement. Any discussion? None? All those in favor of resolution number 25466, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion passes. Mr. Ned?
Your Honor, I make a motion for resolution number 25467, approving Prairie Ridge Estates 7th Additional Final Plat and Memorandum of Agreement for property located east of Bison Court and north of Casina Avenue. Mooney Engel Land Company, owner.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25467, approving Prairie Ridge Estates 7th Edition Final Plat and the Memorandum of Agreement. Any discussion?
Now, this is the one that's out east of Highway 13 that was part of the church's
Yes.
property that Eldon McMillan was developing, and when he died, it got sold off, right?
Correct. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions or discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 25467, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Yes, Your Honor. Resolution number 25468, approving Squaw Creek Meadows 7th Edition Final Plat for Memorandum of Agreement for property located south of Grand Avenue, east of South 26th Street, Platinum Development, LLC.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25468, approving Squaw Creek Meadows 7th Edition Final Plat and Memorandum of Agreement. Any discussion? Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I just wanted to let the council know, and those for the audience, that in the past 4 items, they were final plats, so this is setting up property for sale. So these were improvements are either in the subdivision streets and such, or there's being surety posted to ensure that they will make those improvements. And generally, we get the final plats just prior to the sale of the property. That's when they're ready to start selling to developers or home builders. I just to let the council know, the actions that we've just taken, 63 lots, 63 single-family lots were platted. part of the Views project, which is the Maggot plat. That'll equate to 110 or 120, between 110 and 120 55 and over age-restricted apartments. And then in addition to that, there's 48 apartments proposed on one of the lots within the Prairie Ridge Estates 7th Edition. I just thought that was worth kind of talking or presenting to the council. So if you think about growth and what's going on, it's very clear that we've got things that are really kind of cooking right now, just so the council's aware. We got a lot of permit activity and a lot of development going on. So I just wanted to provide that information. I thought it was good for the council to hear.
So will this put houses clear out to 31st Street then, for that Prairie?
Yeah, up until there's a commercial lot in the corner that's been kind of reserved for commercial. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Improvements in that area if you drive out the cul-de-sacs in. So, yep.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 25468, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Your Honor, I move to approve Resolution 25,469, approving Timberline Manufacturing Edition Final Plat and Memorandum of Agreement for property located north of Blair's Ferry Road and west of Lyons Lane. This is Cedar Real Estate as the owner.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25469, approving Timberline Manufacturing Edition, Final Plat, and Memorandum of Agreement. Discussion?
Are they expanding? Is that what they're doing?
This is a land transaction. They're selling a piece of the property that's closest to Blair's Ferry Road. There's the it's a small engine repair. They're selling that. So over the years, they've bought and sold property within that area. If you looked at the plat, it's kind of goofy shaped, I guess, without getting too technical. So what we required is that they, with this subdivision, that they would actually plat the property, formally plat it. So they have a lot of small split parcels. This will include it into two distinct parcels. So I believe it's two lot final plat. So kind of cleans up boundaries.
Any discussion on that or questions? All those in favor of resolution number 25469, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
This is ordinance number 16-09, amending the Marion Code of Ordinances regarding a request to rezone property from R5, moderate density multifamily, or residential, to C2, Central Business District, commercial, for property located south of 6th Avenue between 8th and 9th Street. Perry Development Partners, second consideration.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 16-09, amending the Marion Code of Ordinances regarding the request to rezone property from R5, moderate density multiple family residential, to C2, Central Business District, commercial, for the property located south of 6th Avenue between 8th and 9th Streets. This is the second consideration. Discussion?
Are there any complaints, disturbances, dissensions?
Objections.
Objections, thank you.
That's the word.
None that I have received, and I do know that the petitioners for this are in the audience if you have questions, but we've not received anything at City Hall. And if you recall, this rezoning was, it required site plan review by the City Council prior to the project moving forward with building permits. So.
Okay, I still have a problem with parking on the street, but that's my problem. So, I guess I'll have to move faster. How fast do you want to get started on this project?
Please come forward.
Annette Perry, 200 Rosedale Road, half of Perry Development Partners. We would like to move as rapidly as we can. We are waiting to do the final site plan until we know that we can actually get this rezoned. So our architects stand ready this evening.
We'll work through the night.
Suspend. Well, what I'll do then,
I have no
after
doubt.
we vote for the second consideration, I will suspend, or move to suspend, so that it gives you that extra couple weeks in there.
Thank you.
As long as you got a parking place for me off.
I'm going to have one with your name on it.
All right. Might
Okay.
be worth it.
I do think we're going to have some parking, Dan, across at the trailhead there, are we not? Across 6th?
Well, there's,
Probably if we pass that. That'll help a lot over there.
Okay. I'm going to have my own parking.
well, there's a
place.
parking lot there now.
Well, there isn't where the dirt's piled.
Yeah.
The city owns that
Sure.
as well. There isn't a parking lot. It needs to be, parking lots are asphalt, Tom, or concrete. In case-
I'm picking up
I
what you're
thought
dropping.
maybe you forgot. and-
No, I understand what you're
Mr.
saying.
City Attorney, Don, so remind me how we should handle this, because the motion was already made, and then now we have,
We have to vote on this, and then I can move to
Okay.
suspend after.
okay, so,
Trust me.
any other discussion? All those in favor of ordinance number 16-09, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Your Honor, I move to suspend the rules and place ordinance 1609 for final consideration.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to suspend the rules and
Okay.
place ordinance number 16-09 for final consideration. Discussion.
Good luck.
Okay. All those in favor of ordinance number 16-09 final consideration, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Okay. At this time, we have a public hearing regarding the sale of city-owned property located adjacent to and south of 2525 and 2065 7th Avenue, also known as Plot of Survey number 2042 to Mooney Ingle Land Company, LLC. So the public hearing is now open. Is there any presentation on this, or?
Only if you want one.
Does anyone need a presentation on this, or? Okay. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this action? Let's put this on the agenda. Yeah. Is there anyone here to speak against this? None? Public hearing is now closed.
Your Honor, I make a motion to move resolution number 25470, approving the sale of city-owned property located adjacent and south to 2525 and 2065 7th Avenue, also known as Plat of Survey number 2042 to Mooney Ingle Land Company, LLC.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25470, approving the sale of city-owned property located adjacent and south of 2525 and 2065 7th Avenue, also known as Plot of Survey 2042, to Mooney Ingle Land Company. Discussion. No discussion?
I guess I had a question. Is this, every time something comes up on the 6th, are we going to be doing this, taking off little pieces of the land? Is this one of many, or?
Well, as projects come together in the corridor, there's remnant pieces that'll be adjacent to larger pieces that are being developed. So what we've done is we've trying to subdivide the property and provide it as an incentive as a part of a development project. So as indicated in the staff report, this is a smaller piece of property between the new Lebeda building and the right-of-way of the new 6th Ave. And so we've worked in the value of that property into the development agreement that'll come forward in the future because that's kind of on hold now with the TIF policy. In addition, we're actually getting the front 8 feet of that lot for 7th Avenue improvements as well. So yeah, we're going to be, as we go down through there, we're going to clean up the right-of-way on 7th, be parceling off the pieces of the railroad right-of-way that are remnant between development sites and the right-of-way for 6th Ave. So you'll see that we'll normally do a plat survey, which is going to, let me just show this visually for 2 seconds.
Sorry about that.
That's fine.
So when this lot was developed or owned previously, it was the old Sinclair site. So that lot had never been platted. It was a remnant piece from who knows when. So 7th Avenue was 151 at that point. There was never a plat to get the right-of-way. So the right-of-way actually, it's kind of like a county subdivision where the street goes to the center line. So when they final plat, we want to clean up and ensure that the city gets their portion of the public right-of-way. So when they final plat, there'll be an outlot in the front that'll be dedicated to the city for 7th Avenue street improvements. Actually, that's where the sidewalk will be. Right now, we couldn't put a sidewalk in front because we don't own that property. So there's a value attached to that property. There's also a value attached to the piece of property that's hatched in red. This south line of the red property is the north line of 6th Avenue, the new 6th Avenue. So you can see there's not much to do with this remnant piece. Doesn't carry a whole lot of value because it's standalone parcel. So we use that as an incentive as a part of the development project. So I think it carried a value of about $12,000. So we'll work that into the development agreement, and it'll be accounted for within the development agreement when that comes back to the council for discussion. We're not getting this piece at this point in time. It'll come with a final plat, and they'll need that final plat prior to occupancy of the building. So we're going to get 8 foot. The value will be established within the development agreement, and then we'll sell them this southern half. So
there will be a sidewalk in the front then after they've done that?
Correct.
Yes,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
What is the probability of it being pretty close in cost, what we're going to pay and what they're going to pay?
Well, what we're finding is that the property that has frontage on 7th Avenue is of a much greater value.
Well, I think it should be a fair trade.
But we are going to account for it. So if, as an example, they had a number of increases in cost associated with the brownfield on that property. I don't know if I've said this before. I think that they found 7 underground storage tanks on this property at one point. There is a pretty large plume on it that's been run through the DNR, so all the appropriate measures are being taken consistent with the Department of Natural Resources from a brownfield redevelopment perspective. There's increased costs for that, and as we've talked about with the TIF policy, we're trying to help offset those costs by providing tax increment financing to capture the cost that is increased by those brownfield sites. That's why they don't ever perform or they don't ever develop, is because there's so many increased costs. So we'll take whatever that dollar amount is, and then this is considered a gift, if you will, as a part of that, and that dollar amount will then come off the value. So it'll be accounted for in the bottom line of the development agreement.
Well, how close is it, the square footage of the blue as opposed to the red?
What, the cost?
No, the square footage.
Oh, I don't know right offhand.
Well, Tom.
Sorry. The last appraisal we did, the property that adjacent to the railroad right-of-way was valued at $1.65, and the stuff on the front was $16 a square. So, it may be very similar.
Trade.
So, nonetheless, it is ultimately a trade, because we're going to get the front half of the final plat, and this will be a part of the project in the end. So.
Tom, does that affect their setback at all?
Ultimately, yes. Without that property, they would not be able to build a second building, and they're currently under construction as this building here.
Right.
And then there's a second building planned back in this vicinity.
It doesn't affect the setback that we required them to have.
Oh, no. Nope.
No, the question came up about parking, that this way it would take the parking off the front of the building and move it to the back.
Yep. We like to see the buildings a little closer to the front than the parking lot. So that's from a design aesthetic. Project's coming along. The brick's almost done, I think.
Like they were
poured floors today in there.
Yeah, they were pouring floors in there.
Good.
Mayor, the only thing I wanted to point out before you act on this is I believe that there's a transposition error on it. I believe the addresses should be 2525 and 2605 7th Avenue, not 2525 and 2065. That'd be about 5 blocks to the west.
We'll take the trade, yeah.
Any other discussion on this? None? Okay. All those in favor of resolution number 25470, approving the sale of city-owned property located adjacent to and south of 2525 and 2605 7th Avenue, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion passes. At this time, we have a public hearing regarding the sale of city-owned property located south of 2823 7th Avenue, the former Prince Agri site, to GLD Properties LLC. The public hearing is open. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this action? Is there anyone here to speak against this action? Okay, the public hearing is now closed.
Tom,
I'm sorry, yes.
I'd ask if we could to continue this possible. We'd like to, since we have to publish and post some things up with regard to this, I'd like to take 2 weeks to kind of review. We can continue the public hearing.
So we'll have another public hearing essentially? We're not going to close it?
Correct. We wouldn't close it. We just continue it to the next.
Okay. Is there a motion to continue the public hearing?
so moved.
Any objections to that?
Second.
Okay, so moved by Mr. Sternad, seconded by Mr. Draper, to continue the public hearing on the sale of city-owned property south of 2823 7th Avenue, the former Prince Agri site. Any discussion on continuing the public hearing? All those in favor of continuing the public hearing, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes, so it's continued to an indefinite date. Okay. Okay. Mr. Brandt?
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 25471, approving purchase of wetland credits associated with East End Central Corridor redevelopment in the amount of $31,200.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25471, approving the purchase of wetland credits associated with the East End Central Corridor redevelopment in the amount of $31,200. Can you provide a brief explanation or reminder on this?
Sure. So this is, as you'll recall, we did a wetland delineation for the railroad property that the city owns. There were several wetlands identified within that corridor west of 31st Street to 22nd Street. One of them was determined to be a qualified wetlands, which requires us to either mitigate the wetlands for development purposes or to buy credits to offset, to buy credits in another watershed to offset the destruction of the wetlands, essentially. We've contacted a bank. We found that we do have the opportunity to buy some credits. We did evaluate it, whether it would be worth actually doing the mitigation, and then there's a lot of engineering-related activities to that. It's got to be monitored 5 years. We have to do we have to construct them and then monitor them for 5 years, and it's quite the process. There are development projects in this vicinity, so from a staff perspective, we're recommending to go ahead and proceed with the purchase of the credits at this point, and that way we're prepared in the corridor west of 31st Street, clear to 22nd for any wetland issues. So if a project come together, we don't have to go search for the credits and find them and deal with it in the future. So this is staff's recommendation is to proceed with purchase of the credits at this point. They were if you recall, where the USDA building was on the corner of 31st and 7th. There was an area back there just north of Tom Barnes's. It was pretty wet. That's the area that we're talking about. It was about I think it was about a third of an acre.
Okay, questions on that or discussion? No discussion? Okay. All those in favor of resolution number 25471, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Mr. Ned.
Your Honor, I make a motion for resolution number 25472, approving the TIF policy.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25472, approving the TIF policy. Discussion.
Yes, sir. I do have a problem with this. There is a business in Uptown Marion that received a grant from the state for $75,000 for redoing the building, but they also got a TIF, if I'm not mistaken. And that was for the gallery that was supposed to be on the first floor, right?
Actually, it was for the historic renovation of the building, I believe.
Well,
it wasn't tied to a particular business or a specific
I thought it was tied basically to the gallery, which now has changed so that it is totally a restaurant bar. And if that's the case, then I think any TIF or any remuneration that they receive should not be received.
I'll pull out the development agreement and look at it, but I don't believe that it was necessarily specific to the business that was going to be in there. When we do these for retail type buildings, we automatically know that, on a 10-year TIF agreement, on a general retail space, the business may turn over 3 or 4 times during that period of time. So it's usually not tied to a specific operator or a specific function. But I'll pull it out and look.
The whole problem is that it's the same owner all the way through, rather than changing owners, 3 or 4 times. So this is my question, is this a fair deal, or should they be in fact returning?
Is that a question about the TIF policy that we're approving, or is that separately? Is that a separate question?
Well, it's about the TIF policy that.
Okay. I mean, it would be unusual that TIF does not go to a business. It goes for making improvements to a building, regardless of what business is in that building. Businesses come and go out of a building, even if it's the same owner. They could have different businesses in a building, but the assistance goes to helping to make improvements to the real estate, because the real estate stays regardless of what happens to the business, and it improves real estate, it improves value, and over time results in more tax income for the city. That's the whole idea of TIF, is providing assistance to improve the real estate.
Okay.
And what happened with that project is they took a building that was falling down and restored it and increased its value. So over time, the city will earn more tax income from that building, regardless of what business goes in and out of it. So, I mean, but if he's going to check the development agreement, but I would be surprised that it has anything to do with the actual business.
Yeah, the development agreement specifically states that the owner plans the redevelopment of a building consisting of 2,600 square feet of commercial retail space on the first floor and an upper story living space.
But
And
the
they
intent,
agreed to contribute.
The initial intent was that it would be a gallery that would ultimately replace Campbell Steel. That was my understanding.
I believe one of the major impetus behind that whole project was to do a historic renovation of a dilapidated building. That was the essential nexus of why that project was brought forward. It's a Memorial Hall building.
Well, then they got the $75,000 from the state.
Correct, as part of the challenge grant.
Okay, well.
And they also received historic preservation tax credits. Per the term of the development agreement, they agreed to make a total project investment of $400,000, and our obligation was to reimburse property taxes for a period of $5 years.
Oh, I was just curious. You know, when it changes that drastically, I guess.
Well, valid question, but I mean, you know, it's important that we all understand how TIF works. And so, any other discussion?
I had a question on the 29th Avenue renewal plan. That's all new development that'll be planned out there, mixed-use buildings and all that. Will those new property, new buildings, will those be eligible for TIFs?
Generally, the mixed-use buildings are eligible. We would look first at the commercial portion, make sure that it fits with the overall development plan for the area. But the intent with the TIF districts, both the Tower Terrace West District and the 29th Avenue District, was not to provide direct incentives to the businesses that were going out there, but to use the proceeds from that commercial development to help finance the construction of Tower Terrace Road. The Central Corridor and the Old Marion Collins Road District, what we call now the Marion Commerce Corridor District, are kind of different because we're helping to make up that difference between redevelopment costs and greenfield costs. To date, the only direct business that we've done any type of incentive for out on Tower Terrace Road was ESCO, and that was as much a retention and expansion project as anything.
Yeah,
but all the other commercial development that's occurred out there in both that side and on the east side with the daycare going in, we've not provided any TIF assistance for companies out there.
The one up on 35th Avenue is not, it didn't get any TIFs?
The Parlor City building did not receive anything. Clemenson Chiropractic, the Mac Express, none of those buildings have received any type of city incentive or assistance.
Okay, thank you.
Would it make a difference if they were PDR as opposed to commercial or residential?
Our intent with those areas up there really has been to stay away from residential. The Linn-Mar School District in particular, residential creates student load for them, additional students, and that creates costs. And so if you start tipping residential, well, then you're starting to affect the income that they need to serve those students. So when we created both of those districts, we assured the school that we were looking at only tiffing commercial and industrial in those areas, and this new TIF policy reaffirms that. A PDR, we would look at the actual uses within that plan development.
Thank you, Lon.
Okay, any other questions on this? We're ready to vote? All those in favor of approving resolution number 25472, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. We have all ayes. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor, I move approval of Resolution 25,473, approving payment to Involta and for Cisco hardware, software upgrades, and professional services in the amount of $77,867.60.
Moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25473, approving payment of to Involta for Cisco hardware, software upgrades, and professional services.
Is this a one-time payment?
Yes, it's one-time payment.
Okay.
Was that part of the bid that when we upgraded software? No, this
No,
is
so
separate?
this is a two-part. It's a firewall upgrade for both police and then the remainder of the city, and then a phone system upgrade so that we can continue to be supported by Cisco.
The professional service they offer, if we did get a virus, would they be responsible for getting it out of the system, or?
Well, by doing the upgrades, we're going to be able to minimize that significantly. Involta, the professional services are within Volta because they'll actually be doing the upgrade as they have the expertise in the phone arena. We do not have that in-house.
Okay, so that's part of what we're...
That's part of it, yes.
Yeah, okay.
That virus going to extend to us, too?
I hope I don't get a virus.
Any other discussion? Questions? All those in favor of resolution number 25473, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution 25,474, approving payment to the Insight Public Sector for Microsoft volume licensing in the amount of $33,531.92.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25474, approving payment to Insight Public Sector for Microsoft volume licensing in the amount of $33,531.92.
This also is a one-time payment?
No, this is an annual cost.
Annual.
This is the third year that we've been in this agreement with Microsoft. It's based on a per-user count. It provides volume licensing for everything from an operating system, all of the Microsoft Office suite software, and then also allows all users to be able to access the server.
This covers all the city, the library, and City Hall, the police, everyone, right, for licensing?
Yes.
Yep.
This is annual, or this is every 3 years? It's 33,000.
Annual.
So it's a 3-year, $99,000 or whatever, $99,000 contract.
It changes based on, they do an annual true-up, so depending on the number of users every year, it'll go up or down slightly. So approximately $33,000 every year.
But this is the base operating version of Windows that's on every system that we have. It's everybody's Outlook accounts, everybody's Microsoft Office suites, basically everything that we do, plus all of the network connections that you need to be able to connect into the network. It's an expense because we're using the business suite. It's something that a home user wouldn't have to do to be able to connect to a home server. But for us to be properly licensed, it's something that we have to do. The big benefit that we get, well, there's two. One is that 5 years ago, we were buying computers on a rotation, which is all well and good, but at one point we had, I think, 7 different versions of Windows and about 4 different versions of Microsoft Office going. And if you can imagine being in the IT department and trying to provide support for all those different versions, including some that might be 7 or 8 years old, it was really kind of a nightmare. This means that everybody is operating off of the same platform. The other thing that allows us to do is what's called imaging of computers. So if we have a computer go down, someone drops their Surface and the screen cracks, we can get a new one and image it with exactly the software that we need, plug it in and have it up and running, rather than having to go through the whole exercise of setting everything up. And we can do that on any computer up to, I think, a limit of about 5,000 machines. So it gives us a lot of flexibility.
Can these computers run standalone too, or do they have to be on the network?
No, they can run standalone as well. The operating system's on each machine, and then they're licensed to attach to the server. So we're not using dumb terminals or anything like that.
Right, okay.
Okay. Other discussion?
You don't want to switch to Apple, do you?
All those in favor of resolution number 25474, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 25475, approving additional on-site network engineer labor contract with Marco in an amount of $3,520 a month.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25475, approving additional on-site network engineer labor contract with Marco in an amount of $3,520 a month. Discussion.
Sounds like the mafia.
Is this the phone system? No?
No, this is general network labor services. If you remember what Terrell was talking about, there's a lot of work that we need to do. I think one of the council members asked, for example, about the looping failover if a piece of the system goes down. What we have right now in some cases works, in some cases does not. They're going to do a project to chase all of that down, make network improvements. Right now we contract for a certain amount of time, but about 3/4 of that is actually spent out at the police department and just maintaining their system and keeping everything up and running, which leaves only a couple of hours a week for the rest of the city. This will allow more time for work with the rest of the city, and especially as we move through the process of looking at potential future designs for computers at a new library location or an expanded library. It's going to be very important for us to plan for that, and we need their expertise to do that. It's a budgeted expense for us for this year.
At a bid item one?
Since Marco is our incumbent provider, we'll just be continuing to use them. There would be concerns about expertise if you went to bid something like this. We're familiar with them. We're familiar with the individual. They've already passed all of the security clearance checks that the police department can think of. They know our systems. In the interests of expertise and not having a bunch of different vendors all in the system, it's best for us to go with one. To give you an example, we ran into a case with a problem where we had 3 different entities involved, and it was a problem with our phone system. All of them were pointing at each other that the other person was the one that caused it. And it took us months to get it ironed out. With this case, there's only one person that's responsible.
That's $40,000. Is that forever? $40,000 a year?
We have the option to go up or down annually based on our needs. But I will say there is a point at which you have to do a determination on whether or not it's something that should continue to be contracted or whether or not we should be looking at adding some other IT staff in-house. So for example, if next year it was a determination was made that we needed to double the number of hours that we're purchasing with this increment, at that point you're right on the cusp of what the salary and benefits package is for a full-time IT technician. And at that point, because then you're getting 40 hours a week from that person versus, say, 16 hours a week, you really have to start taking a hard look at does it make more sense to start building that expertise in-house. That's kind of the balance that you have to have when you're first building an IT department and still using a hybrid model where you're contracting for a lot of services.
Don't you know the new ruling line? You can have your home system and download emails to your home server. I mean, it's not against the law anymore.
No, you don't even have to.
Is the IT line, is it broken out by department and a line item on the budget for each one, or does that go back to the general fund?
No, we break it out by each budget. So we have a determination, and we do a true-up internally of the number of computers that they have, so each department pays for their own number of licenses and everything related to the system. Terrell has a program that he uses every year to go through and see who needs what systems, what equipment each individual department is responsible for, and then we allocate the costs out. It's important for us to do that because you could conceivably have all of the departments in the general fund paying for everything just out of one general fund account, but then you've got all those other departments, water, sewer, that are using resources that really need to pay for them on their own.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 25475, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Discussion?
Discussion. Oh, good. All right. At the June 23rd meeting, it was moved and seconded to table indefinitely the possibility of a roundabout at Indian Creek School. However, at the Tuesday morning Kiwanis meeting, day before yesterday, I don't know who was the guest speaker, but apparently from the engineering department, and he said that the funding was all set to be sent into the state. And I don't know what's going on.
That was Mike Barklow, and I reviewed his presentation, and I don't recall that being in there.
Well, this was from a member of the Kiwanis. If you can't trust a Kiwanis, who can you trust? Secondly,
we will not be moving forward with that application, if that's what you're asking.
Excellent. The Flying Tiger lithograph, the person who donated it would like it back because it's not hanging in City Hall, and that was who he gave it to, was City Hall. And he wants to give it to the Gold Star Museum at Camp Dodge. So I would like to retrieve that and return it to him. And the roundabout on 29th and 35th had comments about that they can't tell where the outer rim is, and can that be painted so that it's obvious, and also for winter purposes, and also painting when you have lanes coming out of a curve like down on by McDonald's, that people don't know where the lanes are, that what they're supposed to be, what lane they're supposed to be in to make the curve. And so they said, would you please bring that up? I said, yes, I would.
Good. Done. I have just a couple of things. This might be a question for you, Lon. Kind of goes right in off of our IT deal, but I know one of the emails had circulated around a little bit. Is there a potential or an opportunity for us to upgrade our iPads to working tablets? We're getting more stuff as far as documents and spreadsheets that are asking us to integrate with that. I find myself having to move them over to a personal computer, fill them out, move them back. They're just a little clunky for us, and I feel like we're spending millions of dollars with something that's, I'm very actively using mine. I know we got a couple that don't, but I didn't know if we were on a cycle with these. I'm not asking to dump these, but is that something that might be, that we might be able to expect or see in the future maybe?
Yeah, I'll visit with Terrell about that. I mean, everything that we get is on a replacement life cycle. I can't remember exactly the fiscal year that we bought the iPads in originally, but I know that we do have one Surface that, for example, is kind of a hot spare if somebody has something go down that we can use. But I'll see what else we have.
Okay,
and
great.
what his thoughts on it are.
That would be great. Thank you. The second question I have is this might be in general question for the council. When we, at least I'm not seeing these actual bids that are coming out. I mean, we're assuming that when stuff comes from us, we're taking low bid, and I know there's considerations, sometimes there's reasons we don't take the lowest bid per se, but is there any reason we don't, or we haven't, or have we in the past ever had the luxury of seeing these bids before we are making a vote on a decision for a bid? Such as, tonight was a perfect example. We're seeing this stuff, but I think it would be to the council's interest to see, we sometimes don't take always lowest bid. We're really relying on staff to tell us, what direction we'd like to go. But I think it would be pertinent for council to see that. I guess I'd like to, if is there any discussion or, have we done it in the past and it's been turned down, or, and that would go back to staff as well too for a general question.
I guess it'd be, if there are particular items that you've had concerns about, I'd like to know what they are. IT items, for example, a lot of the times we are piggybacking off of state bid or Western State Purchasing Alliance bids, and in those cases, we're going off of volume licensing that experience has shown us that we cannot get that type of pricing if we're going to go out and just try to do a bid on our own. If you think about taking a bid, for example, that the state of Iowa has, if they're getting a bid for volume licensing on software, they're getting a bid for hundreds of thousands of computers that we just have never historically been able to match. So that's generally where things like that will show up, is if there's some other purchasing. It would be the same thing if we went out and bought a vehicle. We can buy a vehicle off the DOT bid, and that's perfectly acceptable. I know engineering includes their bid tabulations in with items that they put in there. I think Mike does that routinely as well. But if you've got a category you want to see something on, we'd be glad to do that, or just put together a memo saying this is why we did sole source in this case.
Sure. No, and I have no reservations or concerns. It's just I know a lot of times things are coming in, whether it's overlays or water sewer, or we're bidding out or speccing out vehicles, of some things of that nature. I guess I'm there's some questions people are asking, the general public's asking, as to was it low bid, or do we have, we're approving things based on recommendation. I know we certainly want to assume that we're moving in the right direction on all those things, but I guess, when we think of bids, I guess I would like to see those bids as far as, when we're dealing with $1 million project or $800,000 project, it'd be nice to just, for our clarification, be able to validate and say, well, this one was the choice and this is the reason why. Now, whether it was some of the strings that are attached to that as far as working days or things of that nature. Again, too, I'm not asking for thousands of pages of documents. I'm just asking for just a summary of, what were bids, or are we not getting any bids? Are the folks that we're getting the only one that put the bid in? I think those are valid questions that council should be able to answer, and I can't answer that. So
you got to get into the monthly reports, and engineering is usually pretty good about.
Sure. No, I'm not doubting anything. I'm just simply I've been asked, and I just wanted to open that up for some general. So thank you for that feedback. So
just a quick comment. We do include all of our bid tabs for all that stuff. When it comes to professional services, it's very difficult to explain them, because a lot of times we're talking apples and oranges when it comes into a proposal or a presentation. So
right.
We could give you those numbers, but it would really not mean much. But we will do that if that's what you're asking.
Sure. No, and again, too, I'm not asking staff to change anything. I'm just trying to educate myself, and I wanted to do it at this opportunity so we can speak freely and openly amongst all members here of the council, so I can be educated on that. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, and to give you an example, with vehicles, non-specific vehicles, so not a squad car, not a fire truck, not a public service truck, just like I'll use the building inspection vehicles as an example. When we buy those, we're actually doing a full-on life cycle cost analysis to get information from the dealer about, okay, if we're going to own this vehicle for 9 years, what is it going to cost if we follow the maintenance schedule that you've got outlined in the book? What's the expected fuel cost? to run it, because we want to know what the true cost of ownership for that vehicle is over the period that we have it. So we may not take the one that's the lowest dollar amount up front, because the analysis might show us on the back end that it's actually more expensive to own that vehicle over the full 10 years. We started doing that when hybrid vehicles first became popular, and because we wanted to see, is the high fuel mileage really worth it given the premium that you pay for that vehicle up front? And like in the case, again, of building inspection, it was less expensive over the term of ownership to buy the vehicles that we have, because they were a relatively high mileage small car with a low operating cost.
Sure, and I can relate to that. Leased vehicles go the same way. So a leased vehicle is determined by the length of the contract and the residual value at the end of that contract. So I totally understand the vehicles. I guess mine was a little bit more related to, just our small, not small, but, our individual projects. And, just I know there's a lot of times that we see things that went out for bid and something's coming back and, here's what based on recommendations, this is where we're going. So I think I got what I needed. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Paul?
From a fellow that's kept alive night and day of something they build on a low bid, it is kind of scary at sometimes.
Apparently you didn't take the low.
Well, they try to explain these things to me as you did your computer, but you're talking to a guy that still uses a flip phone. I'm not up to date on some of that. I would like to thank Coach Cummin representing Linn-Mar School Board this evening. You guys have been very loyal to come to our meetings. I had something on my desk that it wasn't on the agenda that I don't understand, and that's from the Apple Creek Kennel. Is that a recopy? It's dated March 17th, 12/12, and July of 16. And it looks to me like it's something we need to address out there if we can. Dan, you take a look.
Is that the one related to the nuisance abatement out in that area? Yeah, I know that the departments have been working on that.
Okay.
We could ask them to come and provide an update to the council on the progress of that at the next meeting.
Because we do have rules on salvage yards.
Yes.
And hopefully we can take a look at that and see. We have a business that's being jeopardized out there. Fire? You look like you wanted to say something. Okay.
Just as a brief, I did ask, the mayor asked me a similar question related to 51st Street and just the conditions of some of the properties and businesses that are operating out there. We have been, over the years, working with them, and, sometimes, and I've mentioned this to folks, sometimes it's easier to try and work with folks to clean up some of those issues than going directly to courts or violations and abatement orders. Clearly, this has been an ongoing issue, and so we'll address that internally and let the council know kind of where we stand, and then if there's something else the council wants to do, we'll certainly go in that direction. But I think that we'll give an update at the next council meeting if that works. That way we can get some direction from you guys and move forward.
That's really just a first-rate business out there. I mean, it's clean and it's a good business, and you kind of hate to see surrounded by the stuff that is surrounding it, because I think maybe they've lost some business that people didn't want to leave their animals out there because of the neighbors.
Yeah.
Yep. Is that it?
You believe it?
No. All right, well, I just want to encourage everyone to attend the Granger House Ice Cream Social celebrating the 40th anniversary. Granger House is not a city-owned property, but it's an asset of our city, for our city, and it's nice to see people out there supporting it. Good day in Marion today. We had two ribbon cuttings. One ribbon cutting that I attended was Hupp Electric Motors, which has now completed getting ready to open and operate in Marion with 130 plus employees. It's a great new addition for Marion. Nice people, great family, and great employees, and it was just a great environment they have there. And they had quite a crowd out there in the heat for the ribbon cutting, but it was something that we should all be celebrating, having them as a member of our Marion family. Another ribbon cutting was the 20th anniversary of the Fiesta party in Uptown that Carlos O'Kelly's and Farmers State Bank and Martin Gardner puts on every year. So can't believe it's been going on for 20 years. But so that was nice to see also. Couple recognitions for reaching higher. Marion Parks Department last weekend had a phenomenal turnout for the dueling pianos at the amphitheater. That's really what I envision the amphitheater doing. And the comments that I just saw about that, I wasn't able to make it, but just people were really, really complimentary of the event and the opportunity to see the community come together in kind of a divisive time in our society and culture, to see the community coming together and just having a fun time out there for that. And I hope that we'll work over the years to increase those types of events and really make good use of that amphitheater as a benefit to our citizens. So, and to me, that's perfect way to use hotel motel funds and those types of things. So I hope you'll have more ideas, or your staff will have more ideas in the future, Mike, and ask for that, for the funding to do that, because the community really appreciated it.
Absolutely.
You have a comment?
Yep, I just wanted to, that coming up in August, we have another event out there. It will be live band karaoke. So that'll be interactive with the audience also. We should have a real good turnout, hope for good weather. So everybody turn out for that.
Wonderful. The other reaching higher recognition goes to the Uptown District for their event last Thursday. And it was just so nice to see that their event sold out, and it was just great to see crowds of people walking around downtown, going in and out of the businesses. And again, people from outside of Marion were here for it, and were very complimentary of Marion and what we're doing, what we have going on. And I happened to stop by the bicycle shop, Cranky's Uptown Bicycle Shop, and he's just so happy to be here on Main Street in Marion. And he told me that his business, he has already, in just a couple months that he's been open, he's surpassed his 18-month projections. So he says, you can have a good business and do business on, in Uptown Marion. Tell everyone that. So I'm telling everyone that. I hope people will support him. It's a great business to have in our community, and so we should all be proud of that. There's a lot to celebrate, and we should always look at what brings us all together and what unites us, and continue to celebrate Marion and reach higher together. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Nick, we have the closed session on the agenda.
I'm sorry. Yes.
I'll
undo the gavel.
Ungavel.
Your Honor, I make a motion to adjourn to a closed session regarding land acquisition as permitted under Section 21.5, quote 1 of the Code of Iowa, and I'll turn to Mr. Legal.
Second.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Before you vote, let me give you my opinion, and I've reviewed the subject matter, and it's appropriate under state law.
Thank you.
Vote away.
It has been moved and seconded to adjourn to closed session. Discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
We need a roll call vote
Oh, I'm
for
sorry.
that.
Yes.
Ms. Pazor?
Yes.
Ms. Etzel? Yes. Mr. Spinks?
Yes.
Mayor Abalosely?
Yes.
Mr. Brandt?
Yes.
Mr. Sternad?
Yes.
Mr. Draper?
Thank you.
Thank you.